As coaches, a big part of our job is to help players learn from mistakes on the field. When things happen, we're there not to just to point out the mistakes, but to help teach, correct, give information, to help them avoid those mistakes in the future. But we also have to realize how we're viewing those mistakes, in what context, and how that's different from the players. In essence, as coaches, one of the luxuries we have is we get the Monday morning quarterback everything that happens on the field with the players. While the players are making decisions in real time, it's much different situation. It's much harder on them. While in the game, on the field, as things are going around them, players are having to make quick, last second decisions on what to do with the ball, where to move, where to go, and sometimes those are wrong. It's much easier for us on the sideline as coaches to see kind of what developed and then kind of immediately assume that they made a wrong decision. But maybe, just maybe, based on what the player was seeing, what was happening in that moment on the field in their shoes, from their perspective, maybe it was the best decision. It just didn't work out. We have to remember that, because sometimes we will see something, an error, a mistake, a ball is given away, and we're quick to pounce, quick to correct, quick to say that was an error because we lost possession, or it was an error because we got beat, it's an error because the player did A and not B. But it's often an error because it didn't work out the way the player intended. But maybe it was the best decision based on the information they had, based on what they were seeing versus what we were seeing on the sideline. Often we have a lot more information from looking at the game from our perspective than the players do on the field. So it's always easy for coaches to Monday morning quarterback what is happening on the field. Yes, we're there to help coach, help correct, give information, help players learn the game. But we also have to keep in the back of our mind that what the players are seeing, what the players are experiencing on the field, in the game, is a lot different than what we're seeing from the sideline. And that decision-making process and how the players go through, it's different than what we get to do while observing. And any coach who's played the game, really if you think back and understand that when you are in the game, if you're ever watching game film and analyzing the game, which is a great tool, when you're looking at it from that perspective, from outside the field, you can see a lot more than you can when you're on the field. So there's a lot more information that you can look at and say, yeah, maybe this option would be better or that option would be better. But in that moment on the field, maybe that player didn't have that information, or there's no way for that player to have that information. So they made the decision that was best based on what they could see and what they're experiencing in the moment. So when we're watching games, we have to remember that yes, our job is there to coach, correct, help teach, and improve the players' understanding of how to play the game to help them success. But remember the context in which they are making decisions. And then as coaches, again, we have that luxury to almost, again, Monday morning quarterback everything we see happen on the field. We look really smart at times because we can see a mistake happen and then coach it. But we didn't really necessarily know that that was going to happen until after the fact. But the player in the moment has to almost take a risk, has to take a gamble, has to make sometimes an assumption and try something that just might not work out. So again, sometimes it's easier for us as coaches from the sideline to correct that, see that was a mistake, than the player on the field in that moment to be able to see it. And again, we have to keep in mind, maybe it was the right decision based on what the player knew, saw, and was experiencing in that moment. And if it did work out, would we still have corrected it? Is there still things there we could have coached? That is kind of where the real art of coaching comes in those moments where we can see what really does a player need to work on and improve, whether their actions on the field had a positive or negative consequence. Because again, it's not always the result, but what the player was thinking, doing, and acting in that moment that really needs to be addressed and coached by us. So again, remember, our perspective on the sideline as coaches is a lot different than what the players are experiencing on the sideline. Coach, teach, help correct, help players improve, but always try to take a step back and put yourselves in the player's shoes and try to think about what they were seeing and experiencing in that moment.